that I called and talked with every so often, like basically that I called impinchazam, even when I was in high school, were black and Indian largely. And then not so much coloreds and whites. Yeah. And in the Indian community, their order of events, the ones that were my friends, and the ones that were mere acquaintances that I was observing were not like us. Like, no, we were all pretty much the same in high school. Excited about boys, excited about matric dance and what we're gonna wear, and excited about first year varsity, and in varsity, excited about first year jobs, applying in corporates. But then when we became 2021, the Indians maintained excitement about not only starting careers, but also meeting boys and getting married. But in the black community, from as early as maybe like third year varsity, it just became a frenzy that I didn't understand where it is that their thing that they were looking forward to now is having babies. Guys, don't you think it's a generational curse? Now think about it. Being broody, maternal instinct is given us by God. Desire for children. But in the black community, it out just slaps us like a bat out of hell. When we are yet to be married with boyfriends that we feel we are medis to. We feel that we've been together for a few years now. We've been dating since high school, since varsity, and now I should give him a child. It is not maintained as a taboo to be rocking up at your mama's house, pregnant with a boyfriend. It became regular. It became normal. When I was 23, because of my tumultuous relationship with my mother, I ended up cohabiting with my boyfriend. Initially, his parents were apprehensive, but one day they visited us. It's like in the black community, everybody is being told, listen, you might want to hold on to godly principles. Do you understand? Mara, it doesn't fly in these streets to a point where even parents with old school ideals will concede to their children's harlotry. Parents that got married and then had children will concede to their daughters being paid damages for. Parents that got married and then had children will concede to their daughter, not daughters-in-law because they're not married, but the baby mamas of their sons living in back rooms in their houses, when in the main house there is a widowed mom who was married to this guy's dad up to death. There is an infiltration of something just gnarly satanic. It's giving athlete's foot. It's giving fungal infection that is causing black people to think it's okay to keep having children out of wedlock to a point where you will force it down our throats. You will shove it down our throats when we don't have kids at a certain age. So herein lies Karabo at 2021, starting to notice among her very beautiful friends, young, perfectly marriable. Everybody is yet to have children. Nobody has baggage yet, largely. The teenage pregnancies were a minority. They were the taboo. They were fertile birtle. Women that are perfectly marriable. You are wasting daughters. Do you understand? You are wasting daughters. And the thing about black girls is they're so domesticated. They're so domesticated. So she cleans, she scrubs, she cooks, she has been taught since she was a girl that you wake up early and you clean. So essentially they are wife material from very young. Trained very well. Barely ever will you find a black girl unable to make pap by the age of 14. Barely ever will you be able to find a black girl that has not been trained, that on Saturday we don't just keep sleeping and snoozing the alarm. We wake up almost like we're going to school and we clean. And so they grow up already trained wives at as early as 16, 17, 18. Therefore, when everybody's now able to pay lobola, they should marry real fast, right? But black guys adore to have these domestic goddesses, if you will, hanging out in their houses as the girlfriend. When you walk into this guy's house at any time of day, this chick is in the kitchen washing dishes. She's cooking. And then when you look around, there's no wedding band. When you look around, there are no wedding photos. Now, this is just Imedi for now. And in 6 months, he's going to have a new girlfriend that is just as domesticated. So because they're trained to have these domestic queens that are wifely, that will give themselves over to guys that are willing, that are happy, of course, to receive a bride in a girlfriend. It's nothing at all for them. It's manzamangan. It's literally nothing at all. Like wife material women in the climate, or young wife material women in the climate of black boyfriends, it's nothing at all. A guy does not wake up like Adam Way woke up out of his deep slumber, saying, this at last is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, recognizing what in the world it is, that is the glory that is placed before him, that has been given by God. And so appreciates it. Black men don't wake up when they start to notice that, yo, I met her young, she's beautiful, she's 21, top of that she can cook, top of that she can clean, top of that she keeps herself in a bunch. Black girls, even when they're super poor, always got this lip gloss that's just like, yeah, patsy. They've always got lip gloss on. Like you will never find a black girl, no matter how much she's struggling, how much she's suffering. There was a show that I used to watch on Netflix, not Netflix, but DSTV, before we got Wi-Fi, and so therefore Netflix. I feel like I'm getting fat because these rings are starting to hurt around my fingers. I need to work out. Anyway, whatever. There's this character there that was living in Mukuku, like informal settlements. This chick was living in an informal settlement. She was about 20 years old in the show, right? But the first episode that I watched, she was in some club atmosphere, chatting with some dude in the club. Her weave was on fire. It was sleek. Her brow, her makeup, face beat, on fleek, outfit, on fleek, everything. Lips, again, glistening with lip gloss. But then we come to learn as the plot unravels in this show that she lives in Kukui. Well, that is not an unrealistic thing to see in the black community, where it is that you will meet a girl in a taxi and you will think that she lives in some elaborate house, only for her to go into Mkuku. Kept together, looking all glorious, with cheap clothing, cheap makeup, cheap whatever, but you would never know. And so when you find a woman that can keep herself looking that glorious, that also can keep a home, tend to the matters of her own household, and then you find her at the age of 21 looking all that beautiful, no acne on the face, just perfect beauty with perfect domestication, if you will, and you don't marry it on that day, you are rubbish. Do you understand? Those are the kinds of men that the Bible essentially despises. Onan went into his new bride, and then because he did not want to make a baby that was not in his own lineage, Judah's son, he pulled out before he could fertilize this woman, and God struck him dead. I use that story of Onan in the Bible with Tamar. These women called Tamar have so many bad fates in the scriptures. You remember Amnon and Tamar? Yeah, the story of Onan and Tamar. The Lord uses it time and time again to help me understand how he feels about men that like to sleep with women, but not make honest women out of them, not make them wives, not bring forth fruit through them, not bring forth progeny through them, to not be wife, betrothed, a perfectly viable 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 23-year-old woman that can bring forth 20,000 children into the future, that tends to the matters of her own household, loves the children, cleans the house, cooks a meal, makes sure that your shirts are ironed, because that's what they're like. Beautiful, and so they are out here going to be proliferating stunning genes and some beautiful daughters and some handsome sons, right next to being able to take care of the matters of her own household. So she is wife material, and then men just play with us like we ain't jack, hitting it and quitting it, hitting it and quitting it, making us sit ripupile in the passenger seat of their cars while they boof up their speakers with a whole bunch of loud music. Where are you gonna find that in the white community? Come on, tell me. Or even Indian community, where guys are just exchanging perfectly viable marriable women whose mothers and fathers have invested in them, girls whose parents have invested in them, they've taken them to school, but you just keep on changing them like a mood ring in your passenger seat. And every last one of them, she can make the best steak, the best stew. Every last one of them takes good care of themselves. She takes care, the Bible says of the Proverbs 31 woman, that she wears fine linen and purple, that she takes care of her appearance. So a woman that you can't even tell lives Mkukui with that level of hardship, when you see her out there, her lips are always shiny, never cracking, even a single day. She does not abandon her appearance. Men are visual, we get it. And when a woman is investing in her visual outward appearance, that she might indeed attract a mate for life, and you then make her a hit it and quit it a drive-by shooting, on that day you are Onan, and you are in dire need of being struck dead by God. When men merely want to spill their semen on the ground and not make babies with women, not make honest women out of them, not stay as their grooms, you're Onan. And it is only by the grace of God that he doesn't strike you dead. You're Onan. You are thoroughly like Onan in the Bible. Anyway, whatever, let's go back to my story. Okay, I notice as a woman on the come up in my 20s, just entering my 20s, breaking into them like some acne, that there is a weird little anomaly amidst black girls in particular, where it is that, okay, so now we are in stable relationships with guys we've been dating for a year or two, and now look at these pampoons. Everybody literally stays at home with their parents. No one has their own apartments. Listen, no one, not even an apartment. Everybody works in the call center. Everybody has just gotten their first job ever, and here is a woman and a guy, young woman and a young guy, buying Baby and Me, Bumblebee magazine, getting all broody together, looking into each other's eyes with longing and loving adoration, and saying, baby, let's make a baby. They're sitting smooching on mom's couch. It's the most bizarre thing. Like I said, I even witnessed Gen Z's doing it. One of them little girls that to me was frankly an infant. That was my sister's, my baby sister's. My baby sister was born in the year 2001. She's a cool 17 years younger than me. So, like I said, infant. Saw her in school uniform up and down here from high school. Always coming to the yard to visit my sister and then leave. A year after matric, I did not know that she had a child, but she said to my older sister, not a year, 2 years after matric, she's like, do you know that I have a baby? When she was one time visiting my little sister. Now, I don't remember my little sister saying, I'm going to a wedding. I don't remember my little sister saying, I'm going to throw a bridal shower. Nothing. Y'all, I promise you right now, I've only ever been to one bridal shower as a black woman. By the time I lost everything, I was 26 and a half. So at that stage, there's quite a few people getting married. I had been to more baby showers than I can count on my 10 fingers and toes, and only been to one bridal shower. The bridal shower of which, by the grace of God, belonged to a woman that was yet to give that boyfriend or fiance a baby. So they did things the right way. Those are the ones you hate. Man, that's the thing. She's like Candace Owens too, that girl. She goes and gets married among the first ones to get married out of all our crew of friends, and then bewitches all of us to have bad tidings. And at her wedding, Everybody was sneering and jeering behind her back, even though they acted fresh and kind to her face. So feeling raw about it, she decided that every last one of us is not going to be happy in life. You get your husband, you marry without having a child, and then do things orderly and expect all your girls to be out here popping babies to dudes that they're not married to. You do that. That's black culture. Listen, I'm escaping it. Okay, I'm leaving. I've been seeing these things for a minute, but there is a great deal of denial. I'm not giving any dead speech, no brainer, psychopathic boomba of a bomb blast, of a pampoon, of a pimpud, a baby. And because I'm 41, apparently, allegedly, my ship is sailing. Listen, let it sail. Because what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? God has order. And he has given me order. He has said this is how things ought to be done. And when then I sought his face for that order and you blocked it, you don't get to blame my God. Listen, look at yourself. Your thoughts and your intentions are evil continually. There is no rest for you day and night here on earth because you are wicked. And so for, of course, being the tossing sea, of course, you are going to frazzle me because you're frazzled. You're frazzled. You're unhinged. You've got hairs out of your place. You've got hairs out of place. And so now you got to come and hook up some hard knock detangling tool while I still have matted hair and just rip through my strands, taking out a tuft of hair that big, decimating the living daylights out of my glory. Like proper, you're gonna do that. But I will say naked, I came into this world naked, will I leave. God gave, now God took away. Yet blessed be the name of the Lord. I'm gonna latch on to God, and if my righteousness means I have no children, if it means I am maintained as a spinster, then so be it, baby. Because what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? I'm gunning for heaven first and foremost before I'm gunning for an earthly joy. This here life is a brevity, the glory of the pastures. Here today, gone tomorrow. I will honor God first and foremost. Number one, uppermost is this a prerogative. Then only I will lament about, but where is my husband? I groan about it, still I lament about it, still listen. I am not insensitive or immune to sorrow pertaining my spinsterhood at 41. I'm sorry about it, but I'm godly first. Anyway, let's go back to my story so you can understand what travesty is going on in these African streets. I start to notice that everybody has got, given that they've been in relationships for longer than 1 year. Listen, a 1 year relationship is a handsome amount of time when you're only 18. But get to the age of 41 and you realize that it's it's nothing. Because at that age, people are out here hooking up silver anniversaries. So when you're a child, do not gaze upon a 2 year relationship with a guy. And I call them children because I'm so old. But you're a young adult at that stage. Do not gaze at a 2 year relationship as a guy, as time, because people can change. Especially considering when you're young, you're yet to crack any fine lines and wrinkles, especially when you're under the age of 25, your collagen is still at the utmost of its production in your skin. So you're plump. Everything of yours is perky. Therefore, given that you've got this cornucopia of other guys out here salivating after you, your boyfriend essentially keeps himself in a bunch. So you reach out with each other, you like each other, and also there is limited disincentive to move on because barely anybody in that age getting fat too fast. Like what's going on with my fingers, and I have to change over my rings because I'm noticing that they're getting a little bit snug. I need to like work out. I need to go back to working out. I gotta lose some weight. People are to be taking me from the gym, and now I'm starting to feel it in my fingers. I'm feeling it in my toes. Anyway, whatever. Barely anybody out here getting fat fingers until their rings don't fit when you're that age. And so largely people keep themselves in a bunch. Test of time is what ascertains safety in an environment. But when you're still young, how you can test a man's virtue is his willingness to make a grown decision in the midst of boyish ones and run with it anyway because he is convicted by the Holy Spirit that that's what makes sense. Listen, young men, go and peruse as with a magnifying glass the life of Charlie Kirk. He started Turning Point USA from the age of 18. Before then, he was already a born-again Christian. And he made a decision that makes sense young. Get married young and make babies. And if a man can make a decision as a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 23-year-old to marry his 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, 20-year-old girlfriend, he's the mature one and not the fool that's losing out on life. Again, another one, Joe Kirby. Go and watch men who married young. That's the kind of man that is a true test of character. So do not look at a 1 or a 2 or a 3 year relationship thriving where you started dating a dude at 18. Of course, you still got all your collagen intact. Your breasts are still perky and you are still athletic. Barely any cellulite, barely any stretch marks. You can't gain weight no matter how many kotas you eat a day. You still got everything down and all the guys in the school playground are still hollering at you. When you walk into university, everybody is tripping over their teeth because you're still so fly. You look like Tyla and her sister. Yeah, so I mean, really and truly, when you look like that, a three-year relationship ain't jack. It ain't jack. That's not a true test of time. That's not a true test of a man's character. It is when he is lingering you, indeed. Now he's got a job at 9 to 5 that keeps him alive in corporate South Africa. He can save a couple of mashankuras per month. He can get a personal loan if he wants. He is planning deeply on getting his own apartment. Every weekend, all you do is spend all that money that you earn every 25th on booze in the club. Yeah, it's when that guy lingers you in, albeit you having started out with him at the age of 18. Goodness, now you're 22, 19, 20, 21, 25 years. It's when you're still dating that dude that has a 9 to 5 that keeps him alive now. When you first started dating, it was in varsity first year. Fine, you ain't got jack to your name. Now he's thoroughly planning on getting his first apartment, and you're still never. You're not even a fiance. He has not even spoken to your parents about marriage. You're just enjoying yourselves. You keep on booking into hotels to have sex. That's what used to happen with my ex and I. We didn't have our own apartments, so we would book into Town Lodge. 5 years, and he's got a 9 to 5 that keeps him alive. Strong enough job to raise money every single month. No, not on booze. Take that booze money that you spend, that 1,000, 2,000 rands party allowance, and put it away for a year, and you've got lobola. Lobola doesn't have to break bank proper. It's the fact that you insist women on getting lobola at 20 million that is then also setting a whole bunch of guys back. If that dude lingers you for 2, 3, 4 years, losing your early 20s, then late 20s, and now you're entering your 30s, and you're still jollaring for 7 years with the dude that you first started dating in varsity first year. Listen, his staying power while you're still young is not the test of character. The test of character is in him making a decision when he turns 24, seeing as he's gotten his second job, having been promoted from his first one. He's gotten out of the call center, and now he is an administrator of projects. He's growing. He makes enough money to put aside a little bit of money, and then he starts to ask your uncle and your dad, so how much is it gonna set me back to actually be making an honest woman out of this lady? That's the true test of character. A man that's not gonna take your best years, the prime of your life, like what my ex did from 22 to 27 to 26. Actually just jollaring. Dude has the baddest chick in the game. It doesn't matter I can cook. I wasn't all that much of a fan of cleaning. That had to be instilled in me by Jesus Christ. But I certainly was the baddest cook in the game. I was ride or die. I was loyal. I was beautiful. I was well kept together. I came from a good family at that time. Right now they've betrayed me and they just look so very, very bad. But understand, I was like Joseph. His brothers betrayed him, but he came from a good family. There's nothing that this guy lacked. But no. Look at him out here. It's like there was a millstone on his leg. It's like there was a millstone on his leg. Oh, my babies, he dragged his feet. He dragged his feet like there was a millstone on his leg. Yeah, I'm always lamenting. He dragged his feet like there was a millstone on his leg. And throughout the entire time that we dated, from pretty much the 7-month mark within our relationship, when it became clear that we loved each other like fat kids loved cake, that I then raised it myself. You see, that's the issue. God made Eve for Adam. The Lord made Eve for Adam. God made Eve for Adam. And then when Adam woke up, he was like, this had lost his bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Eve should not have to ask Adam, when are you gonna marry me? Eve should not have to sit around in a relationship with Adam for 3 years and then be like, where's this going? If a guy does not make his intentions known from the very get-go, you need to get out. But you see, that level of training and that level of maturity, you find it somewhere. It's not littered about these streets like some sand. It's rare. It comes in families that have values unto this regard. So the man either has to be from a Christian family, or he needs to at some point have given his life to Christ and realized that you don't just join. You don't just enter into a relationship and then, listen, it's my girlfriend. Listen, it's just the person I'm with for now. Paul Washer, I love what he says, recreational dating. Like, stop dating for fun. If you can't afford to be married, stay single until you can. But do not date merely because you're passing time. And it's really intriguing or exciting to do that. Because recreational dating produces fornication, and it produces disappointments and heartbreak that don't make no sense. If at all you are 12 years old, what are you doing dating? If at all you're 17 in high school, you should probably hold off until you're out of high school. Even if you've got a big fat chunky crush on the guy in a youth group. If that guy in youth group still has a crush on you after graduating from university and you still attend the same church, then maybe you can start to talk, because he's closer to being able to marry you than he was before. If at all he can't afford marriage, but his dad is willing to pay him through until he can afford himself, then he'll pay his dad back, then by all means. But while everybody's still getting an allowance from parents that is like 250 rands a week, what? Fine, you will go and have popcorn at Ster Kenneco, but then you will be burdened with lust. Make out a whole bunch until you fornicate, and then you will break up, and then you will have a body count that you will despise. And that is what happened with me. I was not raised up in Christian Judeo, what do you call this thing? Principles, virtues, values. My mom was unchurched, irreligious, type setup thing. My grandmother used to force us to go to church, but my mom and they moved out of their mom's house, and so there was no longer any religion being pushed down our throats other than through religious schools. But when I was in grade 5, my mom moved me to a government school, and that was the end of righteous instruction. And then I became a little pagan child. Well, maybe not pagan, because I wasn't into witchcraft or whatever, but I certainly was very worldly. And at the age of 17, I broke my virginity. Something that still to this day I regret. I wish I'd never done it. I wish I'd been maintained in religious environments, because I saw once I came to Christ that it was so easy to reach me for Jesus insofar as the gospel was properly explained. And so now I have regret. However, with that regret, I'm now this apologist, right? That's what's good. So essentially, stop dating people who are not born again. Stop allowing yourselves to be had and taken by men that don't know Jesus. If you're still in the club, you're not in Christ in and of yourself. And the person that you're in the club with, even though they go to church on Sunday, are not in Christ. There was a guy that we used to party with, drink with, like, yeah. One of my girls was fornicating with him. He used to go to Roma. He was a pallbearer. You know those ones that be out there carrying the incense? Those young boys that walk up and down the Catholic aisles. This guy, we'd all be sleeping in one squeezed up dirty room in Soweto because people were out there fornicating after a night of partying. Squeezed up in this dirty room you don't recognize because they always find a honchi to have sex. Even though they don't have their own apartments, they find a honchi to have sex. Everybody's out just squeezed out in this crazy room. And here is this guy. You ask yourself, but I used to get so sick from alcohol. I could not understand how in the world you can wake up at, the party was on Saturday night. I could not understand how this guy could wake up at 6 in the morning. No, yeah, 6. Like 6 in the morning. We just got back from the party. Wake up at 6 in the morning with all that alcohol in his body. I don't know why it was not smelled at church. Listen, I was confused as to why nobody at church. I do not know why nobody at church was able to smell alcohol because I have a sibling that is an alcoholic and you can't miss it. When you're sober, when you don't drink, when you have not been drinking, you can't miss the stench of alcohol coming from a person that's been drinking all night. So I don't know how he was able to dupe anyone at church, but this guy used to religiously wake up at 6 a.m. and say, I need to go to church. I'll be back at around 12 on Sunday morning. Because he was a pallbearer, he was serving in the church. He had to carry stuff, go up and down. Pastor, preacher, father, nun. Anyone in that? Why weren't they like, young man, go back home, you smell of alcohol? I was like, Papa, anyway, whatever. Now that I think in retrospect, I don't know how he was not taken back home after all that, right? I don't know. But if he did not go to church, he would be dealt a bad blow. He was fornicating hard knock. He was drinking with all of us, had no conviction, never spoke to any of us about Jesus. But on Sundays, and during the week, he had practice, this, that, in the church. So don't come and tell me about some dude with whom you're clubbing on Saturday night. That's your boyfriend, with whom you go to church on Sundays. When I was at MTN, I got bewitched ever so wholeheartedly by a woman that I kept on seeing, in particular at Grace Bible Church, who was cohabiting with her boyfriend. Every so often on Monday, she reeked of booze because she was, I guess, hanging out with the camp chairs and whatnot. However, Twitter and Facebook, her, not status update, but her little, like, badge, you know, description bio, yeah, was God-fearing woman. I love the Lord. I would never, yeah, like, listen, she was cohabiting with the boyfriend. Every so often she came to work on Monday reeking of booze. But she was in a God-fearing relationship, apparently, allegedly, with the love of her life, yet again, apparently, allegedly, with whom they attended Grace Bible Church. Churches that don't even convict of sin. So when you're young, it doesn't matter that you and your boyfriend go to church, but you also go to the club. And also, you and your boyfriend have been dating for 3 years, and maybe one day you'll get married. But you're not only fornicating, but there's nobody out just speaking about marriage because everybody is, after all, just 22, and the guy is 23. You feel like that's too young. That is the kind of stuff that causes you to actually be planning, seeing as this guy's mature enough to maintain a 3-year relationship, and he's also talking about, y'all, we should move in together. And then you decide that we're gonna have a baby? Why? I started to notice that couples like these, especially those that, not so much especially those that were involved in the church. I didn't have many friends that were involved in the church. Only that one guy, when we were partying on the Kamab, that used to go to Roma. But largely, none of my friends, there was no one that was just insistent upon going to church on Sunday. Like, no one, not even one, right? But we were in what we call stable relationships with our boyfriends, and we were of the imagination that being as in love as we are with each other and being as focused on us as these guys appeared to be, that we were safe to have children. No, not we, I was not part of that. That we were safe to give them children. And you know how it is generally agreed, apparently, that men run away from, they don't plan pregnancies. Women are the ones that trap them. I'm sorry. That's why, like, even though, remember earlier I lamented against adultery, how it is that oftentimes when two people out here sneaking out get caught, it's always the woman that's accused of seducing a man. And while that is indeed possible and true, in some instances, a lot of times it's the guys that just won't leave the women alone. And in worst case scenarios, they even use magic because they feel like, I want her, I'm gonna hit that. They're still pursuing like they're in high school or whatever. That pursues a woman that resisted until she ended up in his arms anyway. But when then the rubber hits the road and everybody gets busted, she's the Delilah. And the man is the one that out here was deceived by a beguiling presence. Well, similarly too, there is also a chunky gargantuan rumor doing its rounds in the black community that when a young woman under the age of, let's say, 23 falls pregnant by a boyfriend of sorts, she's the one that trapped him. There was a guy that I had strong feelings for, and while I did not want a guy that had children, because I liked this guy so much, I was willing to concede on that. Thank God I didn't get very far. He was so shallow that he kept on playing musical chairs between me and some other girl, and I let him go. But this guy, when he was telling me about his daughter, the way that he spoke about his baby mama, it raised red flags and hairs at the back of my neck. But because I liked him so much, I was literally, just like what black women just typically do, I was ignoring glaring red flags in favor of my chunky emotions. My heart, I felt like, no, but like, this guy's so cute, he can't possibly be a jerk. He can't possibly be a little mean monster. Yeah, this guy was talking about his baby mama as one who trapped him with a child. He loved his daughter handsomely, but he spoke very ill of his baby mama and spoke in particular of her as one who trapped him with the baby. Well, I listened to him speak, and seeing as I already placed him on a pedestal, I took his side of the story, not even with a pinch of salt. I ran with it because I liked him so much. Well, however, all the ladies that I knew, nearly and dearly, that were my friend, that I was closer to than their boyfriends, so they were my people. They were convinced, they were influenced, they were made to concede to accommodate a man that said, I want a child with you. The men were the one that were like, it was not the women that were trying to trap the guys with a pregnancy because, Nyamfuna, listen, I came to Christ at only 26 and a half. My friends were younger than me, older than me, my age, just that range, okay? Some of them were 22, some of them were 29, 30. Some of them were in their 30s already. So therefore, we're not dealing with women that are so hotly desperate for marriage because, oh my goodness, my biological clock is ticking. There were women that could patiently wait another 4 years and still be safe to get married then only. So why are you gonna be trapping a guy with a baby when you are yet to be married, when you know how men are, when you know how unstable they can be? Why would you want to have a baby with him when you're just 23 and he has not made an honest woman out of you? The Bible, it is written about Eve in her judgment that from now on your desire will be for your husband. So women are going to want the affection of men to the point of idolatry. They're going to want the affection of men to the point of basically forgetting. What would Jesus do? What has Jesus said? From now on, why do you think it was a judgment, a passed down judgment, as opposed to just a mere proclamation as to what your general disposition is going to be, Eve? They fall apart and then she gets told she's going to have children with hardship. And then she's also told, from now on, your desire will be for your husband. It is because the desire for a man, the love, the affection, would become a feverish, cultic misdemeanor within the woman. It would make her by any means necessary latch onto this guy, sit on him and lodge. She would do anything to keep him, including fight other women, for crying out loud. That have like women, if I were to end up in an adulterous affair with one of y'all's husbands, listen, I would have been coerced into a crazy relationship that I would have rejected for years, and yet I would be the one that is called the whore and the homewrecker. When this man would have literally gone for all of that, breaking down brick by brick of his own household, by pursuing me into oblivion, obscurity, until because I don't want to commit suicide, I had sex with your husband. I would have said no, and he would have said, you're not going to get a YouTube channel. He would have disenfranchised me, literally, economically lambasted my entire life, so I would be his mistress, and yet I would get called the homewrecker. That's what we're dealing with right now. I'm not trying to be a feminist, that's not who I am. I'm a child of God. Feminism ain't got no place in the kingdom of God. But I'm trying to help you understand what are the nuances, the complexities that come with Christianity in certain countries, and why you can't afford to be bizarre and shallow, chilling in America as Candace Owens. You can't afford that because what the heck it is that black women are going through, even when they want a better life for themselves in certain other countries, or Christians at all. It's just too hot and bothered for you to be so shallow. I'm trying to highlight the cancer that is spreading, metastasizing, reaching nth degrees of terminality in the bones of both black men and black women. And I am making a case for the fact that largely why it is that black men even got this fever, this steam, this pus, this pimple that's oozing out of their face like a cystic acne on a teenager's face is because they're being enabled, helped along by Eve. They're being helped along by other women. And so nobody's gonna get healed in the black community. And like I said, there's only one lifetime. Ain't nobody got time for that. don't have time to wait for black people to recover. And I also am not going to be sitting at the dying bed of some idiot that broke my heart that's going to say when he's only 98, I'm sorry for what I did to you. But look at me, my name is Bathsheba. I was taken by force by David. Listen, no, I don't have any of that time. I'm 41. So and get this information out there. Nobody's going to apologize to me after the act. I already from the age of 26 made a decision that, listen, I'm doing a different thing. And nobody's going to undifferent up my different thing. I am marching to the beat of a different drum. And nobody's going to unmarch me. Because after all, I do like to march. Okay? Herein lies this phenomenon of women falling pregnant all over the streets. And guys blaming girls for trapping them. And they like to sing these stories like canaries on rooftops to next girlfriends coming, next wives. People that they will inevitably end up with, that they will make an honest woman out of. Listen, when a man that is very carnal, very much in the world, finally makes a decision to settle down, it has nothing to do with the fact that this is it. It has nothing to do with the fact that this woman is indeed finally bone of my bone, but flesh of my flesh. Bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. It has everything to do with the fact that she came at the right time. She came at a time when he was like, I guess that's what people do when they turn 29. I guess that's what people do when they turn 28. I guess that's what people do when they turn 33. They marry. So the woman that he is with at that age is the one that he marries. But it is unlikely for the larger majority, seeing as he is so carnal and has dropped so many balls, it is unlikely going to be the one that he loved the most. But understand, like, it is just typically happening with clockwork, like clockwork in the black community. The one that is the love of his life will be lambasted by a possessive insistence on keeping her single until she dies. I am being harassed by dudes that finally married other women and that feel possessive of me and will not let me go. Some of whom are insistent that I become a concubine, a lifetime mistress. That's what it is. The Bible calls it a concubine. That I must become a concubine. Because it's always been me. Yeah, because at the time when we were together, you dragged your feet. Because there was a millstone around it. There was a millstone, and so you couldn't walk properly. You just dragged your feet. But I was the one asking, wasn't I? When are we getting married? A woman should not have to ask a guy that. A woman shouldn't have to ask. Every last... Like, listen, a grand majority, let me not say every, because that's quite wide sweeping. The large majority of women that were my peers on the come up, young, that gave guys children. They didn't trap them. It was not unplanned. They did not one day come up pregnant, like the way that you catch the flu. They were in the run-up to falling pregnant, either on contraceptives or using condoms. So the decision to stop using condoms and to stop using contraceptives was one that was mutually agreed upon by these two people, where it is that the women were convinced to do this thing. Remember I said earlier, from now on your desire will be for your husband. That is Eve's judgment. So when a man should be speaking sweet nothings to a woman, answer, my goodness, I love you. I want you to have my child. Women love to hear that. But you see, if a man says I love you and I want you to have my child, he should write that package, that very conversation with, so will you marry me? But instead, things are all oblong, upside down, wrong way up. Like walking backwards, especially in the black community, where a guy will tell you, I want you to bear my kids, and not follow that up with, so will you marry me? Women swallow it whole, they eat it up. They love to hear from men that they're in love with, that I want you to have my children. I know that that's a thing. When I was 18 years old, I was dating this dude. Remember I told you that I broke my virginity at 17 with some other guy, that I moved out of home and didn't tell him? Well, the next guy that I dated, I was like 18 years old. I was fornicating with him too. I was in matric. And this rando, because he fell in love with me. He was a prolific player. He was all over these streets of Rockville like white on rice. He was littered about these streets like pick it up on some females. He dived into everything like he's an Olympic swimmer. And so I didn't trust him. However, I loved him very strongly, very deeply. I loved him like a fat kid loves cake, in keeping with 50 Cent's song. I loved him. And so because I had such strong feelings for him, and when you're young, feelings can be quite devastating. This guy, one time as we're waiting to go partying, because that's largely most of what we did. We didn't even have a proper relationship. This guy didn't even know, when we did it for like a year and a half. By the time our relationship ended, he didn't even know my surname properly. Because we were always in clubs, parties, and largely drunk, and in his case high, because he liked weed. But as we're waiting to go in some party bus, some of these boys to rock up, pick us up to go party somewhere, because he didn't have his own car at the time. As we're sitting there, and he's looking at me and he thinks I'm old. Of course I'm pretty, I'm 18. Why wouldn't I be? Of course I'm pretty, everything of mine is in a bunch. Why wouldn't it be? Of course I'm pretty, I get shell-out by everything in the street. Why wouldn't I be? And so of course you want me to be your baby mama, because when men see beautiful women that are of marriageable age, that get their period every month, they see a fertility idol when they don't know Jesus. They see someone that can bring forth fruit as a place to put a tattoo down to mark their territory. So here's this guy dealing with a 18-year-old. I'm a child essentially. Well, not really. 17 going on 18. But I am a child in very many respects. You know how I call even 20-year-olds children? Because I'm so old? Yeah, I'm like a child standing in front of this dude. And I am in love with him. He was 4 years older than me. So he's 21, 22. Here's this 22-year-old, and he looks at me, and he's like, he starts to talk in a very solemn voice. Under normal circumstances, he's just laughing and dancing and smoking weed. but now he's solemn. And he's like, oh my goodness, baby, I love you so much. What do you think is gonna happen with our relationship? I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. I'm still a school uniformed woman and child at this stage. Like, I still go to high school, right? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. And then he's like, well, I'll tell you. And I listened to him. And he's like, maybe one day we're gonna get our own place together and maybe have a child. When he said that, my heart, like, I was so in love with this guy that I felt like that was something awesome, that he had chosen me. I remember I told you he was all over these streets like white on rice or dandruff on skin or litter in pick it up or whatever. I gave all those descriptions to describe just how much he was diving into every woman's nether regions like he was an Olympic swimmer. He was everywhere. And so when a guy that is that everywhere with women then says that you in particular, it's a thing in the black community. When he says of you in particular that he wants to move in with you and maybe put a baby in your stomach, you will melt at that. Back in the day when I was still very carnal, still watching worldly stuff, I watched a movie that most black people will have indeed at some point had a drive-by shooting. Besides, they will have driven right by it. There is this movie from back in the day starring Tyrese and Taraji P. Henson called Baby Boy, and they're always fighting in and out of this crazy like relationship of theirs. And one scene where Taraji and Tyrese are fighting, calm and still, Taraji is lamenting about Tyrese's infidelity. He's cheating. Yeah, he's cheating. I wanted to get their names in the show, but I forgot. It doesn't matter. Taraji and Tyrese. Okay, and Taraji's like, I hate you. How many times must I be dealing with any of this stuff? I hate you. I can't stand you. And then, yeah, she's like, I hate you. Fighting it up a storm. And then Tyrese, no, not Tyrese, sorry, as Taraji's busy screaming at him, it's like, you cheated on me. And then finally Tyrese admits that he cheated on her. And he uses a whole bunch of foul language. He's like, fine, I do sleep with other women. And Taraji's like, still screaming. And then, however, Tyrese does a turn on this and says, but I will always come back to you. And I'm probably gonna marry you. And when Tyrese said that, Taraji like just kept quiet. And she basically got buttered up. She got slowed down in her fever, because a man that was telling her that I do sleep with other women using all different kinds of expletives, but I'm probably going to but you're the one that I always go back to, and I'm probably going to marry you. At this stage, Taraji has already given him a child, and she is the first one in the picture. But because Tyrese won't stop cheating, there is a second baby somewhere from a baby mama that he is still sleeping with. And Taraji is complaining not about this baby mama, but about some other woman because she found condoms in his car and was like, why are there condoms in your car? And on top of that, there's one that's used. And they have an argument, scream, yell at each other. And then Tyrese is like, yeah, I do sleep with other women, but I'm probably going to marry you and you're the one that I always refer to. And this was enough to shut Taraji up. Well, this was an issue, even when I was on the come, where it is that women were content with being directe, main chicks. You prided yourself in being the one girl that the guy will always default to. The epidemic of venereal diseases, listen in, nobody out, you're too careful for it, because after all, you think you're going to be forever young, you're going to be forever 21, and no, you're immune because you're 21 to HIV, right? You're immune because you're 21 to chlamydia, right? You're immune to all these things, except the prevalence of HIV, chlamydia, all these STDs is amidst 18 to 25-year-olds. So frankly, you are the biggest and baddest target for life being stopped dead in its tracks by a disease that's going to make you have a difficult time not only getting married, but having children. But you think you are forever, like, with a clean bill of health? Because after all, do you not have all your vigor when you're young? You think that because you can run laps around an athletics patch, that you can also run laps around a venereal disease, around genital warts? Okay, here is this guy that sleeps with Soweto, all of it, Sandton, all of it, like if it's in Johannesburg, Gauteng, and if he's on holiday at the Durban, July, maybe even KZN. Yeah, this guy that has slept with all of this South Africa, that I am aware is just littered about these streets like some dirt in infidelity. He tells me, as an 18-year-old vivacious young woman, that one day we're gonna move in together. That's what are my plans and my intentions with you, and maybe even have a child. It never ever left his lips to say, one day, babe, I get it, he said, where do you think this thing of ours is going? Maybe, okay, this is what I think. Maybe one day I'm gonna marry you and then we're gonna have a beautiful house and start having children. He literally said, we're gonna move in together and maybe we'll have a child. And I melted. I was just taken by it, just like Taraji, getting mummed in her laments against infidelity by Tyrese, because he said, I do sleep with other women, but you're the main one and I'm probably gonna marry you. Yo, like I said, God's law is written on our hearts. There comes a time when you're growing up when you want a little bit more. When you realize that things should not be this way. When you see that the order of things is discombobulated. When you see that up is down, left is right, and frankly, everybody is walking backwards. When you see that, because God is making you see it, you then stop being satisfied with merely being promised by the love of your life as he, with doting eyes, as you're staring longingly into them, he then tells you, you're the girl that I want to live with me in my house and make me pap and be my domestic servant without putting a ring on your finger because we're gonna have a baby and then maybe. But we're not gonna talk about that just yet. Maybe I'll put a ring on it. Like, it's a whole thing in the black community. And in Baby Boy, there's also a friend of Taraji's. It's a really crass movie. Don't watch it. I watched it when I was in the world, lost, dead as a doornail. But that's the black community. That's black culture for you over there. One of Taraji's best friends, if anything, Taraji's best friend in the movie, is living with her, I think, baby daddy. I believe they also had a child together. And listen to these statistics. This is listed across the black community. So listen, the dream that I had with Candace Owens, I'm just like, yo girl, like, you don't care for black people if you want me to be in that grain. Because I keep on lamenting. I might not have physical bruises on my face, but I've been beaten to a fine powder by some pretty violent men with witchcraft. They've tried to kill me with suicide. They have tried to, they tried to make me sleep all day until I'm so morbidly depressed that I will take myself out. So, I mean, like I said, I might not have a blue eye that big on my face, but understand, in the spirit, I am beat by black men. In the spirit, I'm beat by black men, and no, not the glamorous beat that is makeup. Just a punch. Alright? This live-in girlfriend of Taraji's best friend was perpetually getting beaten up by her man. And Taraji saying to her, your man keeps beating you up. I don't know what's wrong with you and your man. He keeps on beating you up. At least mine don't touch me like that. So here are these women having a conversation about how it is that at least my man don't beat me up. Or at least your man don't beat me up. And when she's on the phone with Taraji, she's got like this blue eye. But guess what she says to Taraji? At least I'm living with my man. At least I'm living with my man. She literally says to her friend, at least I live with him. You got your own apartment and your boyfriend visits you. At least I'm living with my man. And at that same time, she's got a whole circle around her eye. Yeah, that's the black community for you. I have witnessed gender-based violence in friends, and they got back together with their guys. I am grateful to report that I have never been beaten up by a boyfriend. I've never been in a GBV relationship, but I have had close friends, acquaintances, and even older relatives, my own mom, that stayed in a GBV relationship, going to the office on a Monday after being slapped silly over the weekend by the boyfriend with a blue eye. One of my mom's boyfriends beat her up, and I was doing homework in my bedroom, and I ran to the kitchen where he was performing these feats, and I stood in front of him and my mom. And you are not going to believe this if I tell you, but I'm telling it anyway. This man spoke, like, he calmed down and spoke kindly to me, like I was human, in a way that he just was not speaking kindly to my mom. And he was like, Karabo, I don't want to hit you. Please move out the way so I can carry on doing what I'm doing. So he was basically saying, what's the length so I can beat up that dog behind you. He calmed down and spoke kindly to me and said, I don't want to hurt you. I'm just trying to get to that one. I'm a 16-year-old girl at this point, and I'm like, dude, I don't want, like, my dad is a deadbeat dad. He's not present for me. He's not here for us. I don't have any other parent. And so I don't want to be orphaned. And I've lived with relatives before. So I don't want to be doing any of that again, because I don't want to be pendulumed between house to house, because now I am an orphan. If I move here, you're going to kill my mom. I literally said, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to move, in my snobbish English. And ultimately, this bugger let go and stopped beating my mom up, at least that night. So during that relationship, my mother went to work every so often, on Wednesday, on Monday, depending on what day of the week this beating happened. Depending on what day of the week this wrestling match, this WWE SmackDown, depending on what day of the week it happened, she would then go to work the next day, be it on a Monday or a random Thursday, with a blue eye. Yeah, and I often wondered, what did my mom say to her colleagues? Like, what happened? I don't think my mom lied and said that I fell off a table or whatever, because a lot of women lie about what in the world happened to them. I think she was candid, explained it. But even when you are candid, letting people know that, listen, my boyfriend beats me up. Black women, literally, they stick around. I don't believe my mom ever dumped this bugger, and then they got back together because he beat her up. Because he was always in the house. He was always in the house, even the day after beating her up. So essentially, he said, sorry, I don't know, but I don't know what kind of man can look into the face of a woman that he has put a blue eye on and not be just horribly devastated within and realize that what a scumbag I am. I don't know. But they sit opposite women they've beaten up, they give them flowers, they visit them in hospital after breaking their ribs. And these women do not press charges. My mother never pressed charges. my mom was the first was the first victim of GBV that I witnessed getting beaten up in front of me, or that rocked up with like blue eyes and whatnot. But as I would get older, because I was only 16 when that was happening, I then would see friends. Yeah, they were in relationships where like proper, this is her face now, get beaten up, like beaten up to a pulp. And my cousin was one of them. And after she got beat up, listen to this, my uncle, her dad, was like, yeah, those are the dads of girls in black communities. Listen, I asked for stuff, ne? I asked the Lord to essentially escape the grain of black defeatism. Black people be actually lamenting, in this country in particular, there is a problem with gender-based violence. It is the worst country to live in as women. We keep on getting put in caskets. Our bodies keep on getting murdered and then burned to a fine crisp and left in a field and discovered charred. Our bodies keep on getting found chopped into multiple pieces in refrigerators. That was one case. And in some instance, a duffel bag on the corner of the street found by passerbys who, curiously looking into this duffel bag dropped over there, then found body parts. We get hung on trees 8 months pregnant. We get killed and then buried under cement in a bathroom by a guy who can do construction, so he just figures this is my body dump, who keeps on denying that he killed a woman in prison until because now he's in prison, and he was found guilty for that case anyway, even though the body was not found, because there was enough circumstantial evidence to show that this guy did kill this woman, even though we can't find the body. When then he's in prison, somebody buys that house, decides to do renovations, and there's the body. Somebody who buys that house makes a decision, seeing as it no longer belongs to the murderous psychopath. He then decides to do renovations in his new house, and upon uprooting the bathtub to put in a new bathtub, ooh, it is no wonder there was a strange feeling of foreboding in the house. It's because there's a dead body underneath the bathtub. That's what happens in South Africa. It's a horrible, horrible place. And when then these women's bodies are found wanting, others also get killed in broad daylight, stabbed to death while nobody intervenes. Mamela, you know, hey, the other day, you know, sometimes you fantasize. Sometimes as a woman, you fantasize. I'm born again in the Lord Jesus Christ, so I'm no longer a gwala. I'm no longer scared to die. If anything, sometimes I wish I would die because I hate the world. I hate my life. I hate the way that things are going. So I just want to be ushered into God's rest. If anything, seeing as I don't have a life, I wish the Lord had pretty much replaced me with Charlie Kirk or even Nabil Qureshi, because they had wives and children respectively to raise. I have nothing. So proper, I'm ready to go. So because I'm not scared of death, it has no sting. I'm born again. I know I'm going to enter God's rest. Sometimes I fantasize about some of these murders of women, these cold-blooded murders of women that happen, as to what would I have done. And there is one in particular that's got me feeling some kind of like raw. Do you understand? There was this young girl that was just 20 years old. That age where guys actually be asking you to be their mama, their baby mama. Okay, a 20-year-old young girl by the name of Hlongwane. I do not know her surname. I think it was More or something, but I stand corrected. Hlongwane was 20 years old at a tavern. That's just the thing. Y'all need to get out of the club. You need to get out of the tavern. You need to get out of the pub. You need to get out of the shebeen. Environments where you can just get murdered. But I mean, Uyinene was just picking up a parcel, so it doesn't really matter. You could totally be even in your backyard and the gardener will just pounce on you. So it doesn't really matter if you're at a tavern, but Hlongwane was murdered. Do you understand? In broad daylight, no, not daylight, night time. It was a tavern. It was a pub, like a dancey environment in front of everybody. And the guy was flailing a knife. He didn't have a gun. He was flailing a knife. And he kept on saying to everybody, if you dare intervene, I'm gonna kill you. And people, listen, sturdy, strong, people who go to clubs are young. They're like 20, 21, 19, 23. They're athletic. Some of them are tall. They're giants. They're bordering on being Nephilim. One slap or a punch from the paw of a 25-year-old can send you into the ER. Concussed and irrecoverable for a few days. You got a bunch of these guys and they've got alcohol bravery, and they are all in this tavern in this neighborhood of this girl.